Welcome to Worthy of Work, the podcast created for all of us who secretly question what is normal in a relationship. My name is Stephanie Rivard, and here we cover the healthy relationship skills no one taught us. Welcome back to Worthy of Work. I'm Stephanie Rivard, and today we're going to dive into something that you've probably heard buzzing around, the let them theory by Mel Robbins, who, by the way, I hope to be a guest on her podcast someday because everyone needs big dreams. Anyways, we're going to look at this let them theory and a common concern I hear from boundary clients when they wonder, hey, if I use this let them theory, does that mean I just let people do things and I don't have boundaries? So that's the question we're going to dive into today. I'm going to prove to you why that statement is false and how the let them theory and healthy boundaries are completely interchanged, that they work together. In fact, they're essential for one another. The let them theory is one of the clearest ways to practice boundaries in real life. Let's start by answering the question, what is a boundary? This is something I'm so passionate about. Why? Because it once confused me. Two, because this does not seem to be articulated well, even though there's a number of books on it. I had gotten confused the difference between a boundary and a rule. And today we're going to look at that. So let's do that right now. What is a boundary compared to what is a rule? So a boundary is a limit or a description of what I will and will not participate in. A boundary is a limit on myself. A boundary controls me, not other people. I'd like to define a rule as an attempt to control someone else. It is a limit to someone else's behavior. A boundary is a limit to my behavior. Whereas a boundary only requires my participation for it to be successful. A rule will require compliance, the adjustment, the adoption of someone else's behavior. So this is a critical difference. In fact, when I learned this difference, it changed a lot of my agony and frustration, and I started seeing my problems differently. Why? The problem didn't change, but the solution changed. The boundaries moved the solution from someone else to me, to my control. The only thing that I can control in my life is myself. And when the solution looked like it was in someone else's care, it required someone else's behavior to change. That is the quickest way to find yourself frustrated, perhaps depressed, angry, resentful. And a boundary, this tidying up, that a boundary is about my actions and rules are about someone else's actions. So there's a quick look at a boundary. And this is where the let them theory comes in. Mel Robbins' let them theory says, stop trying to control other people. Stop trying to force them to change, to inspire them to action or nag them into a renewed behavior. No, let them. Let them show you who they are and then believe them. Now, this is where a boundary comes in. Once we fully accept reality, when we accept the person for who they are because we've let them reveal their values to us, now a boundary says, what am I going to do about this? What actions of mine, again, the only place I can control, what actions of mine might need to adjust? You have a friend who gossips. Let them gossip. And it shows you the type of conversations they're comfortable having. So that's the let them theory. And now the boundary would say, I will share with this person information I'm comfortable having told to others. It could also be, someone is notoriously late, leaves you waiting, and it might appear that they disrespect your time. You can let them. Now a boundary says, this person has revealed themselves to me. The boundary is, what am I going to do? Boundary might be, I will wait 15 minutes without setting reminders and coaching them along, I'm going to wait 15 minutes and then I'll leave. Why? I don't need them to respect my time. I need me to respect my time. So the let them theory says, let them, show them your behaviors, their behaviors, believe it. A boundary says, now what are you going to do? What are you going to do for yourself? The let them theory does not mean let people walk all over you. Let them treat you like a doormat. It does not advocate a passive state. In fact, it advocates a very assertive state of self-ownership. That's what boundaries are. It's taking control of the only thing you can control, which is yourself. So this idea that let them means I'm just going to let people treat me like garbage? No, incorrect. You probably only heard the tagline to come up with that conclusion, and I can see why. That can be confusing, but I want to be really clear. Let them theory says I will let people behave however they will, because frankly, I can't control them anyways. And I will have rigorous self-responsibility boundaries for what I will participate in, what I will tolerate, what I will and will not expose myself to. They can do whatever they want, and I will take action to align with my values and my needs. Why this is so empowering is the let them theory gives us a sense of freedom to say, look, it frees you from this exhausting job of trying to change, fix, rescue people. The hours of our life that we spent thinking, well, if I could just say this differently, or maybe I could encourage them in such and such a way so that they change. We don't do any of that. We don't need to do any of that. Why? Because we're just going to let people show us who they are and turn the focus on ourselves to say, what am I going to do with that information? I'm not going to try to change the information, change them, but I will take a self-responsible response to that, a boundary. You're not powerless. You're not a victim. You get to decide how to choose to respond to someone, what to do and what is allowed in your space, your heart, your mind, your time. That's where a boundary comes in to say, you can do what you want. And this is how I'm going to conduct myself. This is what is acceptable with me. The let them theory also assumes and requires that you have a voice. There's no mind reading here. That it assumes that in this relationship, you have, in a healthy, clear way, asked for what you need, and then you let them show you their response. So what does this mean? Let's run a scenario. Let's say you and your spouse have been married for a long time. You do all the cooking. Maybe you're growing a little tired, maybe a little resentful of this. And first we need to ask, have you asked? So have you used your voice in a clear, direct way, asked for your spouse to cook? This is not huffing and puffing and saying, boy, I wish I'd get some help around here. No, that's passive aggressive. That is not healthy communication. So in this scenario, I'd say, number one, get clear. Say, hi, I'm growing a bit tired and overwhelmed with all the cooking. Can you cook once a week? I don't know what you need, but ask for it. Be clear and have a respectful tone. So you ask. Now, insert let them theory. Now the let them theory says, let them respond. Let them show you their values, their character. But now I know some of you are wondering, Steph, I have asked him 3,000 times over the last number of years, and he has shown me he will not cook. Maybe he's even explicitly told you so. So now what? Okay. Now we have a boundary. Now we need to move into a boundary. Why? Because this is about your actions. You've asked for his actions. He's unwilling. That's unfortunate. So what are you going to do about it? Just do the good old, I'll nag him to control and change his response. No, the let them theory says, let them show you who they are. And focus your attention on the only thing you can control, which is you. So it moves into your boundary. It could be the boundary, I am going to cook 5 nights a week. The 6th night is going to be leftovers, and the 7th night is ordering in. That's my boundary. Maybe, I'm just brainstorming here with you, but the idea is I am going to be in charge of my actions and my response to what someone has shown me of them. I'm not going to try to change them. I am going to, in a really healthy, honest way, look at the facts, look at the situation, look at their character and their decisions, their actions, not their words. OMG, that's a whole nother podcast. Not their words, their actions. And now I'm going to choose what I do. And that might be a boundary, right? The boundary, I'll cook 5 nights a week. Maybe decide to cook 1 night a week and eat PB&J for 6 nights in a row. I don't know. But it's going to come back to your actions. So here's how I'd sum this up. The let them theory without boundaries is passivity. You just let things happen to you and you don't protect yourself. You don't take responsibility for yourself. You just kind of fall over and become a doormat. That's actually not what the theory applies, but if we just took it for the words, we might be confused into that state. Let them theory involving healthy boundaries, which it assumes you must then do next, which is not control and rules. It is constantly looking back at yourself saying, I can't control them. I can control me. I will let them show me who they are, and I will choose a response that's right for me. The let them theory with healthy boundaries is freedom. Boundaries are really the byproduct of the let them theory. So the next time you hear someone say, just let them, don't hear that as a weakness. Hear it as wisdom and strength. Hear it as clarity. Because when you pair that with healthy boundaries, it becomes one of your strongest, most freeing tools you have to build a healthy relationship. If you want to learn more about healthy boundaries, I am offering a couple free masterclasses on boundaries, the difference between a boundary and a rule, guiding you to understand how to find a boundary, set a boundary, communicate a boundary, reinforce a boundary. I'm offering a couple more for free. So I don't know when you're viewing this, but go to my website to check it out. It'll be in the show notes. And I just want to encourage you, if today's episode was helpful, gave you something to think about, maybe you have a girlfriend or someone in your life who's been exploring the let them theory and unsure of how that theory interacts with taking care of yourself, maybe send them this podcast. And I would ask, can you leave a review? That helps raise the podcast. Other people will find it. I don't understand all the algorithms, but I would appreciate your help with that. And remember, as we grow in healthy tools, we can build healthier relationships. And that is my desire for you. Thanks. That's it for today's episode. If this resonates with you, please subscribe, share, or leave a review. It helps more people find this work. And remember, I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who once thought dysfunction was pretty normal. I wanted better and learned new tools. And so can you.